At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast, episode 103. I am one of your hosts this week, Professor Chris G, and on the other line with me is the man that I am forced to get along with every week. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how are you?
I feel like I'm in a time warp.
Why? Because we did next week's episode yesterday?
Yes, and make that make sense in your head if you're not paying attention. One of the first times we've done something like that, and so this is technically the first half of a back-to-back, but we've already done the second half of the back-to-back, and yeah. So,
and joining us on the other line today is our good old pal Grant. Grant is back, our Patreon producer. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Oh, we're good. It's nice to have you back. I look forward to the shows that you come on to. I really do, because I feel like
thank you.
Within the year and a half or so that you've been on here, we've gotten to really know you. So it's really nice anytime we have you here on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoy coming onto the show. Yeah.
Yes, we appreciate your contributions and your
fandom.
Fandom. Gosh darn it!
Your head is all over the place.
Fandom, boy, and that's not like okay. I couldn't remember proactive. Like, okay, that's fine. That's a big enough word. But fucking, I lost fandom.
Yes, you did.
Jiminy crickets.
So, but
Put
yeah,
me out to pasture.
So yeah, we're all here. It's nice. It's a nice Pokemon day that we're getting ready to have. We're gonna go over episode 103. We do have some news that we can go ahead and talk about. And then we can also kind of predict what Pokemon Day is going to look like this year, because we literally have Pokemon Day 11 days from this recording, and we'll probably talk a little bit on our Poke Break when we come back in March after our 1 week break that we are going to be taking in a few weeks. So actually, let's go ahead and start with that. I know we have a few other topics, but Grant, what do you foresee, or is there anything that you want to kind of predict that Pokemon Day is actually going to have this year, with the Nintendo Switch kind of going off to the wayside, and we're hearing rumblings of a Nintendo Switch 2, which might be coming out this holiday around November or December?
Well, the Nintendo Switch 2 / whatever Nintendo comes out with next is been rumored for like years. So it's kind of like a boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
It's just, they always rumor that. The other thing with the Switch 2 is Nintendo's in a really difficult spot because, but from a business standpoint, the Switch has like about to be the best-selling console of all time. It hasn't beat PS2 yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah, it really is.
It's very close. So if Nintendo was smart, they wouldn't do just like any just crazy new thing. They would do something that's a little more like just like an upgraded Switch, essentially.
And that's
Something that
They've
can
done
handle
that
more
though, because they had the
processing
OLED,
power.
right?
yeah. Well, I
Well,
mean,
even more so. Like,
I think it's kind of been confirmed that the dubbed Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible with the original Nintendo Switch, which kind of makes you think how are these cartridges going to be, because I don't want to mix up. It's already hard enough to keep up with a Nintendo Switch cartridge. I'm just throwing that out there. But
yeah,
but to have it compatible with that, am I going to be are the new cartridges going to be a little fatter, and then it'll still be able to fit the old Nintendo Switch cartridge in there? I mean,
probably.
with Nintendo Switch kind of being the perfect little handheld console, because now they've had the luxury of going up against the whole Steam Deck, one of the more powerful handheld machines out there, and they now see, okay, well, handhelds are coming back, handhelds are hot again. What can we do to keep the nostalgia of the Switch, since it sold so well, as opposed to making it a little different? And I just personally, what I really, really, really want them to do is to announce maybe an RCS2 or a new Let's Go, but bring it out on the Switch too. And
I've heard rumors about like a Let's Go Johto, but
which will be great.
Ooh.
Which will be great.
but I say they were just rumors though. That would be like if I had any predictions, because I actually have no idea what they're working on. It'd be a Let's Go sequel,
Yeah.
and it's probably going to be Johto.
And that's what I'm hoping it would be, because Let's Go Johto would be the gold and silver combined together. And
Yeah.
with that, I mean, I just hope that they improve, because Pokemon, I saw this video the other day and it just shined so much of a light, and this will kind of blend into our Power World discussion that we said that we would have. Pokemon, $1 billion company, when they put out their games, the frame rate is not all that great on these Pokemon games, and the performance issues that a lot of these Pokemon games have had on the Switch is just a lot of it's unbearable. And you go from $1 billion company to something that took literally just a couple $1,000,000 to make, like Power World. And Power World has a bigger frame rate. It looks amazing, and you don't really have too many glitches. Yeah, the game crashes. I'm gonna throw it out there right now.
I mean, I definitely get some glitches. Don't get me wrong, but
it's not as
it's still like a game in development.
Yeah, and when I'm playing Power, like I had one major glitch that just almost ruined the entire game for me. I'm just gonna throw that out there, and I'll talk about that in a second. Luckily, they patched it like a day or so after, but you have worse glitches on a game that they sent out and they said, okay, this is the final. I mean, yeah, we'll have updates to the game and we'll have patches, but the patches never freaking fix the damn issues that they had. I just hope that the Nintendo Switch 2 will not have the coasting, the lag that you have on some of the controllers, and that the game actually looks good and the frame rate is good. Because if Power World has taught us anything, you don't need a whole lot of money to make these games.
Well, so the caveat is Power World is also on Xbox. Xbox is pretty much PC. PC is king. Nintendo, like this, some of the glitches on some of the Pokemon games can definitely be thrown at Pokemon Company and Game Freak, but some of it is on the Switch itself, because I think even Tears of the Kingdom had issues, and it's not really the game as so much as the console. The console is starting to get at that age where it's starting to lag behind as far as like tech is concerned, and that's why like a newer, just buffed up Switch would be great.
Yeah.
Just like I don't love that Xbox One was just like Xbox. Like their names are terrible, but it's essentially the same console, just more decked out and like faster and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's what Switch needs to do, is just keep the same console essentially, but just release the better upgraded hardware for it, so it can just perform better. Like,
Absolutely.
and I need Nintendo to get their online gaming fixed.
Yeah.
Like, give us parties. Stop with the friend codes. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, they still run on codes?
Yeah.
they still run on friend codes. Like,
Oof.
just like Pokemon Go, it's the same thing. It's just, and you can't, like, most of the time when I'm playing Pokemon with my friends, I'm talking in a Xbox party with them while we're playing Switch at the same time. Like, it's a they need to fix those like performance issues like that, where it's just like make it more like manageable. Like
1000%, and I'm fully there with you. They need a better function. What's the word I'm looking for? Like they need
just
something.
user interface, I guess.
Yeah, because Nintendo leans too much on the family portion. Like, okay, you're gonna be playing with your
Which is
family.
great, by the way.
Yeah,
I really like how Nintendo has fully embraced split screen, because like PlayStation and Xbox have just ditched it pretty much. So you like, if you want to like play with like your kid, or like someone who's in the same house with you, like it's really difficult, and usually have to just get another TV and like console for them to play. Whereas Switch and Nintendo, you're just like, just get another controller, or don't, because you can split this controller into two already. Like, it's pretty cool what they've done to like enhance split screen, where the other two have just stomped on it.
yep, 1000%. So, I I really hope that they beef up the next Nintendo Switch. Um, make the graphics and everything a little better. Like I'm okay. Full disclosure. I have personal Nintendo Switch games, and I know how to like dump it onto like a cartridge to have like as a backup. And I've put some of those backups on my Steam Deck just to kind of check out the frame rate difference. The the Steam Deck plays these games at like 30 to 45 frames per second, and it's such a difference. It makes it seem like I have, because I don't have an OLED Switch. So it makes it seem like I'm playing on an actual OLED, and the picture is great. It looks amazing. It runs smooth. And I'm just like, man, I just why can't Nintendo do this if a third party system that is powering this runs it so much better? I just hope that they learn from a lot of the competitors and what the competitors have out there. But
Yeah.
speaking of that, Pal World, you have some thoughts on Pal World, and have you heard any of our thoughts on Pal World in our recent episodes?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I haven't gone that far yet.
Okay, no worries. I'm gonna have you kind of give your thoughts on Power World, because it's nice to actually have someone on here that has played it, so I can kind of get your feedback on it as well. What do you think about Power World? And there, it's been dubbed Pokemon with guns. I don't like that term because it's not really Pokemon with guns. But what do you
It's
think
not
about
Pokemon with guns.
it?
For one, the
Yes.
guns are very later in the game. Um, so everyone's saying it's a Pokemon clone, and I've played it pretty far at this point, It is 80% more like a game called Ark Survival Evolved.
Okay.
Like, so in Ark Survival Evolved, one, the menu looks exactly the same. Like the user interface, like you essentially start out as a caveman looking character. Um, you level up your health, your attack, your speed and all that. Um, you can also the technology tree of like every time you upgrade, like you level up, you get like so many like technology points. That's the same exact system that Ark uses. Like, and the crazy thing is, Ark also they didn't they didn't so like in Ark when you tame a monster, which Ark uses like dinosaurs. It's just dinosaurs and like mammoths and stuff like that.
Kind of like Monster Hunter.
And not like Monster Hunter. Their Monster Hunters are more their monsters are more like made up. These are straight up like Tyrannosaurus, Velociraptors.
Oh, okay.
Like you attack them, and the taming process for Ark is very difficult. You essentially have to like essentially take them down, but you can't kill them. You have to essentially down them, and then you sit there for hours waiting for it to finally just revive and it's yours. I was always bad at that process, and that's why I never got into the game that much, but I did play with my friend. Now in Power World, you get to not deal with any of that. You just throw a PAL sphere, quote unquote, air quotes, and catch them. But the funny thing is, in Ark, you also kind of have Pokeballs. Like they're a way more like you don't catch them in those, but you can still like put them into a capsule pod and put them in a storage bin, a cryo freeze bin. So it's the same process of a Pokeball and a box to put these creatures in. Um, that being said, I like Power World so much more than Ark. So much more than Ark.
And
Ark has a lot of issues.
and what do you
But
like?
yeah.
What do you like about the Power World game?
I like that it's pretty smooth and just generally fun to play. Like it's not like because even Pokemon has instances where you're kind of just like, what do I do? But Power World, you know what you're supposed to do. You're pretty much just surviving, and like a lot because you also have to get materials. And what I really liked about Power World is that there's not grinding for materials. You can essentially, uh, for lack of a better term, like enslave your pals to work
Yeah,
for you and
yeah.
get all the materials for you. Like,
A lot of my
and then
pals
like
are
you can,
kind of depressed because
yeah,
I
it's
just
it's really
overwork them.
nice. You could just go off, go on an adventure, come back, and you got all the stone and wood and materials you needed to just fix and build more stuff. Like it's pretty nice. So yeah, I do enjoy it. I think the leveling system's very fair.
It is, and I can't get enough of Power World, and I play it every day. It's bugging the living crap out of my wife, but I just love this game, and I think I've leveled up to I think about level 29 or 30. I'm one of the two now, and
I'm getting there, yeah.
I've caught some pals. Some pals I feel like I've caught and I shouldn't have been able to catch because I caught that big elephant looking dude.
Mammoth.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
big
Yep.
mammoth one. And I caught him and he's like a level 36. And I think I just got lucky catching him. But when I put him in my party, like I caught him, I think I was at level like 25 or 26 or something. I do like the fact that if your guy is not at a certain level, your pal won't be at that level. So even if you caught it at level 36, it's only going to be at level 26 because you're at level 26 and it will get stronger as you level up. So every time you level up, he's gonna level up
Yeah.
with you, and I do love that. And I love how beautiful the game looks. One thing I'm excited about, because I have 2 accounts on Powered. I got one on Xbox and one on Steam, and I'm further on Xbox. I love that they did just announce that whenever they do the next patch, that we're getting PvP, we're getting raids, they're adding extra islands to the game, and we're getting new POW monsters. They just announced this within the past like 48, 72 hours. No one knows when the patch is coming, but they said that that's oh, and we're getting cross compatibility now. So if you're on Steam, you can
Oh,
play
okay.
on Xbox. If you're on Xbox, you can play it on Steam, and it's going to finally cross together, which I am so excited about, because if I can transfer my save file over to my Steam Deck from Xbox, I will be the happiest man in the world. I'm just throwing that out there.
Nice.
And I don't have to play on Game Pass anymore. So, but yeah, I do like the game. I do like that you like the game and that you're enjoying it, and I do love the survival part of the game. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I got to one part of the game where the land and the sand and everything was too hot, and it freaking killed my guy. And
No.
yeah, and
Oh yeah, yeah. Those There's another one where it's too cold as well. Like there's specific armor you have to unlock, like heat armor and then cold armor.
yep.
And like it's that simple. Like you don't even need like super cold or anything. Yeah.
And I
I
didn't
was going
know
more on
that.
the arc on that. Yeah, yeah.
But I will tell you one thing. It took me like 3 or 4 tries, because one, I hadn't unlocked that armor yet. Two, I had so many items that I dropped. So I had to
Yep.
literally kind of level up my guy a little bit so I can get a little bit more stamina, so I can get up this hill, grab my items, and jump my butt back down. So if I die again, it'll be easier for me to grab my items.
Oh, so you're at level 30 or so. You gotta unlock. You gotta go catch one of them bird things and just
Yeah,
fly.
yeah, I found that out too, that that I can do that, and I was like, why did I make this so hard for myself? But yes, I have like 10 of those birds, and I just need to get the attachment. I just never created one of the attachments to be able to ride on my bird, so I'm still wandering around by foot doing everything. And
Well,
now,
there's things you can ride on land too. Like I just found this horse thing that is pretty cool. I'm just riding around on a horse. Like
yeah. Now, to the part that almost killed the game for me. So, Pow World for a while had a glitch in the game where if you died, sometimes it will create a doppelganger character of yours. So I would die and I would respawn somewhere, but somewhere else in the game was my same character, but he was running in one direction. And if it when it got to nighttime, even though I'm standing next to a fire, my character that's running out there was getting cold or was getting hot, and it was just draining my life. So for like 2 or 3 hours, every time I would play the game, my guy's character's health was going down, three every like 2 or 3 seconds, and it was so annoying, and there was nothing I could do about it unless I were to just stop the game and just create a whole new character and start all the way over. But I literally had a
what
duck.
was the
Oh,
did you try just like exiting the game and turning it back on?
yes,
Like
yes, I did. I saw
okay.
that was a fix, because I went on Reddit and I was like, what is going on? And there was other people that had that same issue. But when I would exit and I would go back in, my doppelganger was still there. So I guess I got lucky, because the patch came out that day that I encountered that. And so when the game finally patched itself a few hours later, my game was fine and it ran perfectly well, and it got rid of my doppelganger. But I was literally in a loop where I could not do anything. I couldn't even leave my base for more than like 3 minutes without my character dying. And it was such a headache. So
Yeah.
did
I
you
mean,
did you run into that issue?
no, I get kind of, well, like that's like my, I guess, criticism is I don't love, and Pokemon Go does this, where like you level up by just catching the same Pokemon over and over again.
Yeah.
And like I've learned that you level up higher by just catching more pals instead of just killing them. And I'm just like, oh. And then there's the box issue. Now I have like a ton of like pals that I already have that are like useless
Oh, you
because some of,
you haven't found the guy that you can sell your pals to?
oh, I know you could sell them to them, but like I don't want to have to go sell, like that's another chore I have to do where I'm like I'd rather just not catch them and just kill them. Like I don't, it's just like I why can't I just kill them all?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, and I finally got an updated like storage and stuff inside of the game as well, to where I don't need a whole bunch of these little boxes all over my base to carry my items, because I was carrying a whole bunch of useless
Oh
items
yeah. The that's another big thing is the storage. The storage system is terrible.
yeah,
Like
it, it's
they
brutal.
need to fix that. I'm sure they'll probably. There's a couple just kind of like things I'm just like this kind of sucks, but whatever. They'll probably fix that later.
Yeah. So, all right, and I swear, everyone, we are gonna get into the episode. But one final thing. Your thoughts on you brought up off air about Pokemon coming to Universal. I'm not sure if me and Doug ended up talking about this on a previous episode, but what are your thoughts on um, a possible Pokemon world and one of the owners being seen at Universal with a contractor walking through Universal and it coming to Japan and or the U.S.?
Well, if it goes to Japan, it's coming to the U.S.
Yes.
Um, that's
True.
for sure. Just they might get it first, like the Mario Land. But yeah, no, Universal is doing really well. They're honestly about to just stomp Disney into the ground.
Yeah,
Like
they
it's the
are.
better theme park right now. Like with once Epic Universe opens,
Oh, I
Disney really
cannot
needs to
wait.
start trying hard.
I
Yeah,
cannot wait. Did,
like
did you see the map that they
yeah.
brought out of what the island's going to look like? It's gonna take me like 5 days to do everything over there now. I'm like, oh,
Oh, I know. It's
I
like, oh,
can't
that's
wait.
it's its own adventure there. Yeah. Like I was just like, yep.
Well, from what I've been hearing, and I'm not getting into politics or anything, but I do hear that Disney does want to move out of Florida because of certain things that have been implemented out there, and Disney want.
I know a lot about all that Disney stuff.
Yeah,
It gets more evil on Disney. Like Disney's gets more evil the more you start digging into what they've done, and that's why they're trying to leave. Like they're trying to do some like weird, like like it almost sounds like a cult. These weird cult like cities where people use Disney bucks to live. It's like what?
yeah,
They like invested a lot in real estate. It was just like, what is this?
yeah, and okay.
Like look up the Reedy Creek stuff. It's pretty crooked what they've done.
Yeah, and for our listeners that kind of want just a small snippet of it, so basically what's going on is Disney, Walt Disney bought all this land in Florida, and since he bought all this land out there, he basically created his own little country that's out there. So the taxes, the water, the everything that Disney kind of owns out there, they really don't need to fully pay for. And the government out there is like, well, if Disney's going to be out here, you need to start paying a lot more taxes on your stuff. Otherwise, we're going to start implementing some things on our end, so we can start gathering some of this money back, because it's not really fair that you have your own little island in Florida that we cannot tax or do anything with. So Disney.
Well,
Oh, sorry. What's up?
it's a little of that, but also like, so they would essentially pay the, like, I think it was like they'd pay some of the Reedy Creek people, but they are not Disney employees, so they'd pay them in like gift benefits, but not actual money. So they'd been they essentially got like flagged for stealing tax money from Florida.
Yeah.
So for
And
like 60 years. So
and
like
and they've been getting away with it because they've been writing it off as what's the term that they used, because they've been writing off all this stuff as like gifts and everything that they've been giving out on their taxes, so they didn't have to pay certain taxes while they're out there. And it's just it's a mess.
it's a whole mess.
And their government out there kind of wants them to, it has been cracking down on Disney, and they've been actually suing Disney, and Disney's been going through a whole sleuth of getting sued out there. And
Disney's getting sued so many different ways.
I
They have
know.
so many lawsuits now, like all the racial allegations, all the sexist allegations now. It's
Yes.
getting worse and worse. Like
And
they're in a bad spot.
they're in a very bad spot, and it's just and Disney got to the point where they finally threatened, and they put out full-blown statements about just up and moving Disney out of Disney World and moving it somewhere
Which
else.
that's not gonna happen.
No.
Like for one, like business wise, that would be like trillions of dollars. Like they do not have the money to do that. Even if they were like not in all this legal debt and all this crazy stuff and a whole bunch of other issues that I don't want to get into,
Yeah.
but like they do not have the money for that.
Yeah, they well, if anyone has the money, it's Disney. Disney prints money. So they can try to fight that battle, but I don't want to see them go down or have to go
I
down
mean,
that route. Yeah.
well, Disney's got its own slew of problems, and I can go on and on and on and on and on about that.
Yeah.
But
But
point is, they're in trouble. Universal's stepping up their game and about to stomp them into the ground with Pokemon
yes, with
and
Pokemon,
Nintendo properties.
with Mario, with everything that they got.
Zelda.
Zelda. Oh man, the day that they come out with Zelda World out here, I am there. I will. My 30 some year butt will dress up as Link, and I will go out there and just have the best time. So, okay. But all right, everybody. But you clicked on this episode. Doug, you still there?
Uh-huh.
What are your
Just
what are,
been just
what are your
I've
thoughts
just
on all
you know,
this?
I've just been enjoying I've just been enjoying the show. That's another reason, we appreciate Grant coming on, because he always comes loaded with topics, and he's not short on opinions, and you know that lets either myself or Chris can kind of just sit back and um
Just go over it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just it's very interesting, and I mean, I've got thoughts on Florida that probably aren't too conducive to a podcast, and
Yeah, please don't, Doug.
yeah.
What's your
So
thoughts on Dollywood, the Dolly Parton theme park?
I've got no issues. I've got no issues with Dolly Parton, and I'm not. I have. I'm a simple man, and she hasn't done anything.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Is that really a thing?
That's really
Oh
a
yeah,
thing. I think it's in Tennessee.
it's in
Oh,
Tennessee somewhere.
I've heard it's actually pretty good.
It's apparently it's worth it. I mean, if you're making the trip, that's one of the things you hit apparently.
all right. Fun stuff. But yeah, everyone. This is the the next episode in Pokemon Today. Today we are going over episode 103, and it's titled "Get Along, Little Pokemon," or
Yeah.
translated from Japanese, "Coil on the Prairie," is what it was translated from in Japan. This episode premiered in Japan on June 17th, 1999. And here in the States, it premiered April 29th, 2000. And I'm ready, guys. Are you guys ready to go ahead and jump on into this episode?
Random fact, April 29th, I think, is Seinfeld's birthday.
Is it really?
I think so. I don't know why I just knew that random fact.
If Jerry Seinfeld was on this episode, he'd say, "What's the deal with this Pikachu?"
Yep.
He's yellow.
That's my contribution.
And the tail looks like a lightning bolt.
Is he a mouse? Is he a rat? What is he? What do you feed him cheese?
So, all right, and let's go ahead and get on into this episode. And I'm sorry if the audio ends up playing on my end for like a brief moment, but never mind.
You can never trust that mute button.
Oh, it didn't. It my mute button stayed from yesterday, which is perfect. All right.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, everybody. So let me go ahead because I do see that my subtitles are on, but they wasn't playing. Okay, skip intro. All right. So the way the way that this will work on our 3-man show, I'll go ahead and start the episode. I'll give it over to Grant to do the next part of the scene, and then Doug, I will then give it over to you, and we'll go in that we'll go in that triangle throughout the episode, so there's no confusion or anything or anyone talking over anyone. So everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So let's go ahead and start. So we start this week's episode with the narrator talking about how our heroes are on their way over to the Orange Island Gym in Trevita. And our heroes are literally walking in a desert. And Ash and Misty, they're just kind of talking. I'm not going to read it word for word, but they're going through and they're talking about how much longer is this going to take to get over to the city? And Tracy is kind of telling me, he's like, yeah, it's going to be about another 3 days. And everyone's like, 3 days? I can't wait 3 days. Ash is sitting here. He's like, I'm not going to make it. I'm hungry. I'm weak. Isn't there anywhere closer that we can stop? There must be some place. And Tracy's like, well, there is a town nearby and we can be there by tomorrow morning. And they're like, oh man, is there anything closer? And they kind of motion to the point that they've kind of been spoiled on the Orange Islands because all they do is they sit on top of Lapras all day and they just coast from island to island on Lapras.
I guess we're tired because we haven't been doing much walking lately.
Yeah, we didn't get much exercise riding every place on Lapras's back.
Well, I don't think Lapras will be able to help us out in this place.
Pika?
Hey, look.
Huh?
Look at what?
A whole bunch of clouds start forming right behind him, and it looks like a storm's a-brewing. We go ahead and get the title sequence here, and our heroes are now running. And Ash is like, man, I'd rather be hot and tired than wet and tired, which I second that. I hate being wet and having to go and find shelter somewhere. I couldn't tell you how many times it took for me to be getting soaked out in Florida to where I did not leave the house without a poncho if I was going to Disney World. I'm just throwing that.
But have you been hot out in Florida?
I have, but lately
It is when it's 100 degrees. Let me tell you,
it is bad. Yeah, we
it
we
ain't great.
we stopped going to Florida in because we used to go around June or July, just in the straight of heat. But we now go to Florida around October next to Halloween, and when it's just a little bit cooler out there, so the weather is a little bit more tame. Anytime we go to Disney World now, so we've kind of been spoiled and not had to deal with all the hot weather out there. But let's see. Um, our hero is all like, "Man, I can't believe how fast this storm just came up." Togepi is just having a ball, and Misty seems like she's getting a cramp, so she falls to the ground. And Ash is like, "Man, this is bad. The lightning is just getting closer." And Tracy's like, "Let's head over and hide under that big rock over there." So our heroes go and start running to find a little bit of shelter until the rain kind of passes. And the lightning is just striking down on the ground, and it's just getting closer and closer and closer to our heroes. And then all of a sudden, up in the sky, we see a whole bunch of Magnemite. And I'm not sure if there's any Magneton. No, it's all Magnemite.
No, not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
So it's a whole bunch of Magnemite that is taking the electricity from the lightning strikes and energizing itself so it doesn't fall all the way down to the ground. And this is where Ash does the Pokedex entry at this point. And Ash is like, "I wonder what all these Magnemite are doing out here." So, and then from here, Grant, I'm going to go ahead and hand this next part over to you. If you would like to go over this next part of the scene.
Okay. So yeah, after Dexter comes in, there's another lightning strike that hits. Pikachu's like, "Whoa, that's pretty crazy there." And they're just kind of looking at him, absorbing the lightning and all. And then, Jolteon just comes out of nowhere from the top of a cliff.
I'm surprised Ash
And just
didn't go and
starts.
throw a Pokeball at it right away.
Well, the Ash doesn't like catching Pokemon.
No, they come to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had to
Yeah.
come to him first. And they had to
Yeah,
become
yeah.
big friends, and Team Rocket has to capture them first. So yeah, Jolteon comes off of a cliff, and they're just like, "Wow, look at that!" And then there's another Dexter again, just kind of, explaining what Jolteon is. And
Does Ash have the memory of a goldfish?
Probably a Goldeen.
Well, there you go. He's seen a Jolteon.
Yes,
he's seen a Magnemite too.
He's seen a Magnemite. He's seen a Magneton. Well, I don't know if he's seen a Magneton, but
I know he's seen a Magnemite.
We had a whole episode with the Eevee brothers where he saw every evolution of Eevee at this point in the show. And yeah, he's literally
he caught a muck with Magnemite's help.
Yes.
Like, I don't know why, but that picture of Jolteon right there just looks like a Dr. Seuss character. I feel you can just put a cat in the hat on him.
You know what?
He's getting ready.
I did think that Jolteon kind of looked a little funny in this drawing. I'm not gonna lie.
It's just like I'm getting heavy Dr. Seuss vibes from that guy. Like,
all right, but
so yeah,
but yeah, you can continue.
Well, yeah, it's 10,000 volts electricity, and then like they're looking around, and then Tauros kind of stomps in, and then we get this farmer or rancher guy with Tauroses, and I find it funny how he calls them pilgrims. Like,
hey, pilgrims!
Like, hop in, pilgrims.
We gotta go to the Ponderosa.
Yeah.
I think that's just a product of the localization of the dialogue.
I think probably.
They're like, what
What do Americans say?
accent, yeah, what accent would he have? He's a rancher. Well, what does that sound like? Well, remember the ponytail episode? Just do that.
Where's your accent, Doug?
Well, he ain't really spoke yet.
Facts. All right, and okay, so go ahead, and then I'll hand it over to Doug in just a moment after you go ahead and finish up your scene here.
Alrighty. So, he offers them like to get inside because this rancher has like an Oregon Trail style like wagon that he's kind of riding around in with some toros pulling it along. And so he offers the trio shelter in the wagon, and he's explaining to them kind of like, or they're watching like the thunder strike the magnemite,
Yes.
and how Jolteon's electricity like attracts the magnemite to him to kind of wrangle him in a little better. So yeah.
All right, and Doug, go ahead and take it on from here.
Yeehaw. So we get back to camp, and we find out that this fella's name is Ethan. And
easy enough.
Which, I it's another case of I don't think that was his name in the
Japanese version.
In the Japanese version.
A Magnemite ranch?
Yep. A heap of lightning falls out in these parts. I have my Magnemites suck up all that electric energy from the storms, and I take it round to neighboring towns and villages to power them up.
Wow, I bet chasing after lightning storms must be a really dangerous and exciting job, isn't it?
It sure does have its moments, little missy.
Magnemite. That only took about 2 seconds. You've done a really great job training those Magnemite.
And obviously, because he's introduced in this episode, and it is a Pokemon episode, and we are only... Where did my mouse go? My mouse
5 minutes.
Yeah, we're 5 minutes into the episode.
Okay, my mouse decided to go on strike. I had no mouse. It's safe to say that that's gonna factor into kind of the proceedings of this episode. Otherwise, they would just be running into an old coot that wrangles Magnemite with a Jolteon. And then he kind of gives kind of the lay of the land. He kind of introduces his Magnemite, and we find out that he has a numbering system.
And he could tell which ones are which.
Because he's like, I sure couldn't remember a bunch of names. And which Magnemite is the roamer?
Yeah.
I think it was number 6.
Yeah, number 6. Thank you very much. And we find out that number 6 kind of is a wanderer, and the Jolteon kind of has to come and kind of go, hey, we're on all over here, hot tooey, and he kind of floats into Ethan's grasp, and Ethan's like, oh, this little buckaroo, he didn't say buckaroo, but he might as well have, has always had a mind of its own, and Ash is kind of sitting there, and he's like, well, and look at Ash trying to use logic for once in his life. He's like, well, if you carried them around in Pokeballs, it'd be a lot easier to handle. And Ethan shoots that right down, and he's like, well, if they were in Pokeballs, I wouldn't be able to capture the energy from the lightning storms, which would render my whole occupation moot.
Yeah.
And Ash should have just sat down.
And said, "You
Because
wait."
he got, as the kids say, owned, and I'm just kind of taking the scene in, and I'm just kind of randomly paused at 6:07, and I'm just like kind of looking at Tracy sketching the Jolteon, and I was like, that's a neat screenshot because Ethan's got 6 in his hands, and that's just kind of a neat shot, if nothing else. I'm not like I wasn't like hunting for cover photos or anything, but I was like, that's a neat shot.
But, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if you
Well,
were trying to go.
It's from here, and the Magnemite, right after that part of the scene, starts going around. You see two Magnemite. Looks like they're going around in circles, and it's making Pikachu just a little bit dizzy. And there's a couple more Magnemites that is right behind Pikachu, and Pikachu's like, "Oh, hi. Oh, hi. Oh, you're really close to me. Hi." And Pikachu is
It's a
like,
party.
So Pikachu starts getting nervous and scared. The subtitles over here say scared, and the subtitles on the Magnemite says that they're focused in on Pikachu. And they're all coming closer and closer and closer, and they're all gathered around Pikachu because Pikachu is an electric Pokemon. And so they all surround Pikachu, and Pikachu is panicking and panicking, and Ash is like, "Pikachu!" And he's like, "All right, what's going on here, guys?" And he runs over to the Magnemite, and all the Magnemite turn around and they just look at Ash, and they're like, "Hey, get away from us!" And they just zap, and they zap Ash.
Is something the matter, Pikachu? Pikachu! All right, what's going on here, Pikachu?
You all right?
Yeah, I'm just dandy.
And he's like, "Man."
I was literally about to say, and I actually made a note. I was like, Ash should have immunity at this point,
For real.
or at least
No heart conditions for that guy.
For real, or at least a very high tolerance.
You would think so, right?
I mean, he gets what? Shocked, burned, doused in water, poisoned, punched.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Sat on by muck.
It's not easy.
Sat on by Snorlax.
Yeah, that should have crushed him. But Ethan comes over and is like, "Say, you're a tough little hombre, aren't you? Petit." Ding. He's like, "Just like me." And Jolteon jumps out and starts running. We're all back in the wagon, and it's what was that old 90s video game where you're in like a wagon?
Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail. And you get a nice little Oregon Trail like view on the show, like a nice little back shot. And that's the first thing I thought of when I was watching this. I was like, that's kind of a hat tilt to Oregon Trail. And Ethan is like, he's like, "Oh, so you guys are on your way to the Orange League, huh?" So and Ash is like, "Yeah, I really want to get into it." He's like, "Then you'd be heading to the gym in Trevita, I reckon." And
I reckon.
And Misty was like, "Yeah, but we're looking for the nearest town so we can go and rest." And he's like, "Yeah, you're in town because I'm headed there right now, little lady." And he's like, "I'd like to take you all the way to Trevita, but this old wagon does not float." And he's like, and Ash is like, oh, but you're still great. And he's like, oh, quit that sir stuff now, will you? And he's like, just call me Ethan. So they're going through. The Tauros is pulling the wagon, and Ethan gets the courage and is like, all right, Ash, go ahead and take over the wagon. So he gives Ash the rope, and
Jiminy Crickets.
And Tauros does not like that someone else other than Ethan is holding the rope. So Ash starts struggling. Tauros starts pulling it all sorts of weird. And Misty's like, quit it, Ash. What are you doing? And Ash is like, oh, I got it. And no, he doesn't have it. And he
never had it.
No, he didn't. But from the looks of it, it looks like Ethan took the rope back, and they all go down into the sunset, and it starts to rain. And I feel bad for these Tauros, because the Tauros has to stay out there in the rain, and so does Jolteon. But here's another storm, and lightning is coming down, and it hits the Magnemite that are on the field. I'm going to hand this part over to you, Grant, if you want to go over the next part in this scene.
Alrighty. So yeah, lightning strikes, then strikes the Magnemite, which, I'll be real, the Magnemite kind of look like a precursor to Unknown right now.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, that's just me. So yeah, lightning strikes, and they're just kind of watching that happen, and then it goes back into sunlight, and then the Magnemite are just kind of hanging out, chilling, doing what Magnemite do. And they have a fire in the middle of the day in a desert. I hope they were cooking food and not trying to keep warm. Jolteon starts to wake up. They're all kind of just doing the morning thing of eating, looks like Pop-Tarts. And, the Tauros are in this grass area grazing next to, like, some water. And then we go up to Team Rocket. And they're like, we're about to wrestle up some Pokemon. And, like, I believe, like, I got the sound off, but I remember, like, Jesse just randomly started talking in a southern accent.
Yep.
So that was a thing.
We're about to rustle up some Pokemon.
Pikachu? Magnemite? Jolteon? That's a real power posse.
Just wait till we bring all of them back to the boss.
Oh, we'll bring them to the boss, but after we get a little currency out of their current.
It's contagious.
It's very contagious. Yow.
So, all right. You can continue, Grant.
Yeah. So they're hatching this scheme of an idea to try to get all three electric Pokemon, Jolteon, Pikachu, and Magnemite. And keep in mind, Magnemite is not a Steel type yet, because that wasn't introduced.
No.
So they're like, all right, let's do this. Let's see if we can't steal the Magnemite and sell their electricity for cash. And we'll be in charge for a change. Yeah. So they run off, and it goes back to the gang there, and they're just like, oh, they get a phone call from Officer Ginny saying the power plant is dead. We're all blacked out, but we can use this electric computer to call you.
Well, you know.
You know what? And I had that exact same thought, and I'm like, okay, so the technology in Pokemon was just so advanced, and I know we make that discussion like so much in this anime, but they were so ahead of their time.
It's just, it's a blackout. Yet they have video chat.
They're on their backup generator. Let's just say that.
True. Yeah. They're like, yeah. We it won't last much longer. We're running really low. And he's like, what's happening? It's like, it's a blackout. Like, what do you think is happening? We already told you. We don't know what caused the blackout. It's just here. and then they're like, "Oh, it died. Sounds like they're in a bunch of trouble."
No shit.
Yeah.
All right, Doug.
No electricity for the hospitals. Oh no.
Oh no. Doug, if you want to go ahead and take this next part of the scene.
So basically, Ethan hops into hero mode and is like, well, this is my calling, and um he's like, we're gonna we gotta we're gonna be heroes. Well, no sooner does he say that than the Magnemite just decide to just kind of float on, basically, not to quote a song from the mid 2000s. Um, and Jolteon's like trying to get everyone's attention.
Huh?
Why are the Magnemite flying off like that?
Go get him, Jolteon! What tarnation's going on?
Prepare for trouble. We're magnetic.
Make it double. You're pathetic.
To protect the world from devastation.
To unite all peoples within our nation.
To denounce the evils of truth and love.
To extend our reach to the stars above.
Jesse.
We see that the basket, which I call about 10 tons of bullshit on this, the basket of the balloon is hauling this massive magnet
Yes.
that has attracted all the Magnemite because obviously, and
Of course, Doug. I mean, why would that magnet not hold the balloon down, especially with all these Magnemite on it?
and
Yeah.
and I think that's just it. And before we get a close-up shot of Jesse and James as they say their names during the motto, we get a shot of the Magnemite as they're being dragged as they're attached to this magnet, and you can see like they're completely, well, not completely, but they're basically dead. Like you can see like their eyes are half shut and they just have no energy because it's being zapped into the magnet. So Team Rocket finishes their motto, and you get the standard Pokemon. Give back these Pokemon, they're not yours, you varmints. Ding. And Jolteon and Pikachu are looking on and they go, "Arr." And then we get the Who's That Pokemon, and I feel like as we get further into the Orange Islands, I feel like I ask this every week, but why is it Chansey?
Well, this one I can kind of vouch for, because I mean we at least saw Chansey in the episode.
It was technically yes, like for a brief second.
Because Chansey was running behind Officer Jenny when Officer Jenny called.
And I'm sure that when they did the Magnemite episode where Ash caught the muck, I'm sure Magnemite was the Who's That Pokemon that episode, right?
Yes.
But why not Magneton? Would that spoil the episode, or probably spoil the episode? Never mind.
I mean, they've done that before,
but
yeah.
They've done that before. But what about Jolteon? Who was on the Eevee Brothers? Who's that Pokemon?
You would ask me that.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Like the moment that Who's That Pokemon's like gone through, I pretty much forget about it.
Same. I you know what? By the end of this episode, I'll go and look up who was on the Eevee Brothers for the Who's That Pokemon.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I get tagged out here in a couple of minutes, I'll look it up because I'm off the clock for 2 goes.
Okay. Absolutely. So, all right. So
So
after the who's that Pokemon, Doug?
yes, so we come back and Team Rocket's, sitting there spiking the football because they've got all the Magnemite who in the time of the break have apparently gained their energy back because their eyes they're wide open.
Yes.
And this is the part of the episode where the character that doesn't regularly interact with Team Rocket tries to reason with him. If you don't give back those Magnemite, there's a whole town that has no electricity, and hundreds of Pokemon are going to suffer, and people, and what in tarnation, and all that, and you know friggin' Misty's sitting there trying to and um
Which, if Team Rocket was
and
smart, they would take his advice and go, "Oh, there's a whole town with no electricity and nothing to protect their Pokemon.
I know.
That sounds like a
yeah,
gold mine."
and James pulls out this device, and it like a freaking basically like a manual claw machine,
It's a grabber.
and he
Yep.
just well, it's one of it's a grabber. Yeah, I kind of like mine better though, but you're right.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
manual claw machine. It's a grabber, and just scoops up Jolteon and Pikachu for funsies.
Come on, James. Try it out on Jolteon and Pikachu.
Here goes.
Pikachu, Thundershock now! What's wrong?
You're just wasting electricity, Twerp.
These brilliantly designed Navigrabbers are 100% shockproof.
Thanks for the Pokemon, half-watt.
We gotta stop him!
And this is one of the occasions where they've learned, and because Ash immediately is like, "Well, Pikachu, use Thundershock," and this grabber is shockproof
Of course it is.
because you can only shock Team Rocket about 1,000 times before they kind of learn something.
If
I mean,
Team
who's-
Rocket learned anything, it's that they want Pikachu and they don't want to get electrocuted. So they're gonna make everything that they get shockproof.
I mean, who's more immune to electricity, Ash or Team Rocket?
Oh, it's close.
know
I'm
what?
still leaning Ash.
I was about to say Ash gets shocked more than Team Rocket does.
I mean, Team Rocket gets shocked every episode.
You know what? True. That is true. They do get it almost every episode.
They get shocked every episode, including all the other stuff, whereas Ash, only when he's kind of being an idiot, most of the time.
Which is most of the time, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, all right. Hey, Doug, I'll take it from here. If you want to go and look up that who's that Pokemon notes, I'll go ahead and take it from here with James reaching out with the grabber, and he grabs both Pikachu and Jolteon, which I call bullshit on. I'm just gonna throw that out there right now. How the hell does he get Jolteon and Pikachu in the same grip at the same time? Especially the way that they have been grabbed, if you look at them in the picture.
Well, they were hugging each other when they got grabbed.
Well, Pikachu, this is a time of peril. Why are you hugging Jolteon?
Brotherhood.
For real.
Yeah.
So it's at this point that Pikachu tries the Thundershock. It can't because everything is shockproof.
Shockproof.
And this is when Ethan is down and he's like, all right, well, if that thing's shockproof, Jolteon, go ahead and hit him with pin missile attack. And Jolteon starts doing pin missile. The grabber thingy ends up letting go because James gets scared. So he drops Pikachu and Jolteon. And Ouch! I didn't realize how bad that was. So Jolteon lands on all fours, and Pikachu, when I say Pikachu landed flat on its back and bounced and then got whiplash right after that, they really had Pikachu take a nice hard fall from this one. Jesus.
Yeah, Pikachu took a bump.
Yeah, he did. He's like, I'm ready for the pro wrestling now. All right.
How the hell do you learn how to fall from an air balloon?
You don't.
I mean, he's fallen from that air balloon again, probably every episode.
For real, but he must not have had his bearings under him because he definitely took a hard bump. And Ash runs over to Pikachu and he's like, Pikachu, are you okay? And it's at this point, Ethan's like, Jolteon, use your Thunder Wave to round up all the Magnemite. So Jolteon starts using Thunder Wave, and all the Magnemite start floating away. And Jesse's like, oh no, they're getting away. We've got to stop them. And it's at this point, I thought she was trying to capture one of the Magnemite, which honestly,
And I was very impressed.
She probably could have, since these Magnemite don't have Pokeballs. And
no, they're wild as far as I'm concerned.
And she throws the Pokeball and it hits one of the Magnemite, but it opens up and out comes Arbok. And Arbok goes flying.
Poor Arbok.
Goes flying out of the balloon, and it's like, oh shit, and goes and face plants it right on the ground, and is knocked out right away. And Jolteon didn't have to do anything. Jolteon's ready to freaking Thundershock, and is like, okay, I'm not even gonna bother. And it's at this point that we look up at the balloon, and on the balloon, all the Magnemite have come down, all but one. And then we're back at the scene. It looks like Arbok got its bearings back under it, and Arbok is now standing up to go face to face with Jolteon.
Quick, Arbok! Knock out that Jolteon with the tackle attack!
Arbok goes in for tackle. Misty tells Jolteon to look out, and Jolteon's like, this ain't my first rodeo. I got this, Misty. And the last Magnemite, which I'm guessing is number 6, comes down and is like, oh, I'm still on this, so I'm gonna start floating down. Arbok comes down and just tackles the mess out of Jolteon, and Jolteon goes flying. And Ethan goes out and he's like, oh no, Jolteon, and he catches Jolteon and it pushes them both back into the rock. And I can only imagine how much that hurt, because Jolteon has a bunch of spikes. Not only did those spikes just dig into Ethan, but he has nowhere to go. So his back's up against the rock being pinched by all these spikes that's on Jolteon. Grant, if you want, you can go ahead and take it from here, my brother.
Alrighty. So yeah, Jolteon gets thrown into Ethan, and Ethan gets thrown into the rock. And then it cuts to Pikachu and Ash is like, all right, let's end this the good old fashioned way. Yeah, so Pikachu jumps up, does a thunderbolt, shocks the hell out of Team Rocket, the balloon explodes, and they blast off again. So it goes back, and Jolteon seems to be severely injured because it used up a lot of energy, and they're congratulating it on doing a fantastic job, but it's still tired. And they still have like the town to get to, and like Ethan's trying really hard. He's like, I gotta do this, man. But like his arm's wrapped up in a bandage. And Trace is like, that looks pretty bad, man. I don't know if you should go. Which my logic is he should, because he's out in the middle of a desert with a bandage. So sure. But he's like, no. The town's in trouble. They need the Magnemite. I gotta go. And Ash is like, but you can't go. You're injured.
But you can't go.
Ash, what do you think you're doing?
Somebody's got to deliver those Magnemite.
Thanks, Ash. I only wish I could make the trip myself. Take Magnemite 1 through 9 to the town that's just over those mountains.
Huh?
It's a pretty tall order, son.
You can count on me, Ethan.
And he's like pointing him in the right direction. It's just over those mountains. And
You know.
yeah, just over like a couple mountains. It's not a big deal. Like, just don't think about that. So then, he's like, all right, it's a pretty tall order, son. You can count on me. So he hops on Tauros, and they get on their way. And he's whistling for Magnemite, and the Magnemite following him. And they're off on their way, and then Misty and Tracy are like, all right, we'll be right behind you. And then there's some good old country music playing.
All right. And Doug, did you find out about that? Who's that Pokemon?
Yeah, you're gonna kick yourselves.
What is it?
It's Eevee.
Oh, of course it is.
So, my payoff to that bit is they could have done Jolteon for the Who's That Pokemon if they really wanted to. Or, like Grant said, they could have just kind of spoiled the payoff to this episode. And they could have just done Magneton, but
yeah.
What the heck do I know? So, Ash is, he's working his way through, and of course, as was always going to happen, the Magnemite try to scatter, and Ash is trying to use his whistle, and it's not really effective because I don't know if he doesn't have the same pitch as Ethan, or he just doesn't have the same oomph. Probably a little bit of both.
Probably.
But thankfully, Pikachu is able to kind of act as Jolteon and use a Thunder Wave to kind of, circle the Magnemite's back up, and Pikachu, but in the fracas, and with all the excitement of the situation, Pikachu ends up using up the majority of its energy and is weak, and
kind of falls down and almost faints.
Yeah, is almost out for the count, and come on, play along here. And the Magnemite are kind of hanging around, and Ash is like, okay, they're back now. Let's just do a quick head count. And as Grant was so gracious to mention a few times before he handed the baton over to me, Ash was given charge to 9 Magnemite. However, when Ash counts, he only has 8 Magnemite. And I'm not great at math. I never was, I never will be. But 8 is less than 9.
Yes.
And people are going, shut the fuck up. And Ash freaks out. He's like, oh my God. And he's like, who do you suppose? And who do you think is the missing Magnemite?
It's number 6.
The good old black sheep, number 6. And we cut to number 6, and he is just careening down a freaking waterfall, and he's trying, because we're kind of looking, and we kind of have like his point of view, and he's kind of looking like he's trying to locate everybody, and he's just like, I don't know where anybody is. And he kind of like sticks himself in a waterfall, and luckily, and I think mainly because there's only 6 minutes left in this episode, Ash is just kind of able to get him and be like, what the heck's the matter with you? You can't be wandering off. And Magnemite's like, I'm sorry. And then he's like, oh, over here. And then he like starts to um pull Ash. And we find out that Team Rocket has nipped up and they're back. And they've got like supercharged like magnetic vacuums, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and they're generating the electricity by rubbing freaking the plastic on their hair and on their clothes to generate the electricity to make this thing function, which I don't think electricity works that way, Doug.
No, I don't. I mean, I understand it's a kid's show and there's only 5 minutes left in the episode, but I'm starting to call a lot of bullshit.
I mean, I was trying to hold back the rub one out jokes.
Yes.
I thought we got rid of you!
You did, kid, but those Magnemite are so magnetic we just couldn't stay away. Our new electromagnet machine uses static electricity to attract those juicy, jolty little Pokemon.
It's portable and it's environmentally friendly too.
And all this rubbing is simply marvelous for the scalp.
But yeah, they're using the electricity and it's sucking over the Magnemite over to them, and Meowth and Jesse and James start running towards Ash, and Ash is like, no, we gotta move this way, Magnemite, and Magnemite's trying to pull it towards Team Rocket. Ash trying to run away. It's a whole big mess, and all of a sudden Pikachu's ears perk up and is like, oh, I hear Ash. And all of a sudden Ash is like, he's like, Pikachu, run away quick and take the Magnemite with you. Pikachu's like, what? And then they see Team Rocket, and Team Rocket is still rubbing one out with the electricity. And all the
couldn't help himself.
All the Magnemites start going towards Team Rocket. And it's at this point, Ash is like, oh no, they're going to steal all the Magnemite. And Team Rocket really didn't think this through, because what are they going to do once the Magnemite come their way? Just saying. So,
but it's Team Rocket and there's 4 minutes left in the episode. What do you want him to do?
So I'm going to hand this part over to you, Grant, for one final go on this scene, if you would like to take it away from here.
Yeah, so Pikachu uses his Thunderbolt, makes it a really strong one. And then Ash is just like, don't do that, you're too weak. But Pikachu's just like, bitch, please. And he starts pulling all the Magnemite toward him, but they're still in the bag that Meowth is holding. And so they're pulling Meowth along. And Meowth is like freaking out. Team Jesse and James are just standing there, and Meowth yelling at them, going, can you help me out here? So they start rubbing him out again, like trying to like have this. Just
it's really weird how they're rubbing the electricity. I mean the plastic on their body. It's just. Who thought of this? It's just
that... so what they're trying to do is essentially take the plastic or rub it on their hair to make static electricity.
Yeah.
And I guess it converts the static electricity into real electricity. I don't know how that works for whatever device that does that, but
it doesn't.
Whatever, it doesn't. Like clearly, because their electricity is white, whereas Pikachu's is yellow.
Yes.
But see, how else would you be able to tell them apart, you see?
I don't know.
So, all right, Grant, so they're so the electricity is getting pulled from both Pikachu and from Team Rocket.
Team Rocket.
But what ends up happening right after that?
So they're fighting, and then like Ash is like, they're too strong, like just discouraging Pikachu, like, and then the number 6 is like being held by like Ash, and he's the Magnemite's just like, all right, let me take control of the situation here, and he runs right into like, he essentially does what Ash did in the Pokemon movie, just right into the middle of the fray, right into the power surge, and
I will save
he kind
you.
of soaks it, yeah, and he soaks up all the electricity, just all of it, and it starts shining, and you know, he gets all this power. And then all the Magnemite from the bag that Meowth is holding eventually just burst out of the bag. And they all...
Weak ass burlap.
Yeah, I know. So they start kind of doing this like circle around number 6 here. And it's this big, shiny event. Everyone's just like, whoa, what's happening? And then Magnemite evolves. So yeah, Magneton is now there, and you see the 8 Magnemite still circling around him, and they go off in their different directions, and they all 8 started like charging up Pikachu. They like transfer the electricity, and then Team Rocket comes back up, rubbing some more out, like
just Lord
like,
Almighty.
Jesse's got one under each pit, and James got one like on his chest and on his head. Like, just
he's doing the pat head rub tummy thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And then even Meowth is doing something, and they start running around because their machine stopped working. And then like Pikachu gives them a Thunderbolt along with Magnemite and Magneton's Thunderbolt. They shock the hell out of Team Rocket, and then they blast off again, twice in the same episode.
They've had a bad episode.
No, they're like Team Rocket's not going to be in the next few episodes. Let's just get rid of them. But no, they're back next week.
Oh yeah. So yeah, they start cheering, and it's all good, and they eventually, you know, it goes to like dusk, and Ash is walking up on the city. Like, they say this is a village. Like, I'll argue it's a city, and you know, they finally get there. Yeah, like there's skyscrapers. So and then it cuts to Tracy and Misty, and Ethan, and the wagon pulling up on the city, and it's just sparkling with electricity. The whole city is fully powered, and Ethan's like, Ash did it. That's fantastic. He made it, and it goes up into the sky, and it cuts back to the next day at the Pokemon Center, and you know, Officer Ginny and Nurse Joy are thanking Ash for gearing up and doing what needs to be done, and Ethan's like saying, hey, you're doing pretty good at wrangling those Magnemite. You know, you even helped number 6 evolved into Magneton. And he offers Ash a job to work with him on the ranch. And Ash is like, no, I got things I gotta do.
I want to become a Pokemon master.
Yeah.
So, Doug, do you want to that's kind of the end of the episode. So
that's the end. I mean,
pretty much like you know, the good old normal ending. Goodbye. Hope we see each other again, but we never will.
Yeah, we never will. Literally never.
Never will. Never talked about or seen or heard from again. Who knows? Is his arm ever gonna heal? We'll never know.
So.
And yeah, to be continued. And they just walk down. I would like to at least point out, like, now there's an actual like road, like not unpaved road, but a road that has been made.
That leads directly into the city that they're heading into. So
I assume so. Yeah.
yes. All right. Well, that's great. This was a good episode, and that's why I chose this episode as opposed to the episode. Not that next week's episode is not good, because it is, but I felt like there was so much more in this one and a lot more jokes that could be made in this one as well to get us by. And I'm glad I chose this one for you to be able to come on to, Grant. What would you give this episode out of 5?
I'll give it a 4. I actually kind of like this one. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's a lot of inconsistencies, but overall, like, I'm not like bored. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
So
for real, Doug.
I was sitting at about a 3.5 when we started the episode. Obviously, because I could form conclusions, because you have to watch it a couple times, before we actually sit down and put the headphones on. But just kind of going through everything and going through the episode and getting your perspective and getting Grant's perspective, and maybe watching the eye with a sharper episode, watching the episode with a sharper eye. Jiminy crickets.
You're gonna go and take a nice nap tonight, aren't you?
Oh boy. I think I'm gonna fall in line with Grant here, and I think I'm gonna also be in camp 4.
Okay. And
I would also like to point out, I'm a little biased. I like Magnemite.
I do.
I'm a Magnemite fan.
He buried the lead.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna fall in the camp. This whole episode is gonna get a nice round 4 from everyone, because not only did we have a good episode, but this episode actually leads into next week's episode. Like, they actually talk about their adventure from the previous week for a brief second. We had an evolution. Team Rocket was in this twice. They ended up working them in to where the episode actually somewhat made sense, even though the electricity thing is a little sus. But at that same point, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a nice round 4. Good episode, good commentary from everyone here on the show, good narration from their part, and just it was all around good episode. So I'm glad that we all got together on this one. So all right, anything else that you would like to add to this week, Grant, or anything else that you would like to talk about?
All I can think of.
Okay. And what about you, Doug?
Well, and I'm just gonna jump ahead of you, because I know you were probably heading down the same route, Chris. But I just want to thank Grant again for his continued support on our Patreon. Like you said at the beginning of the episode, we look forward to having Grant on, and chatting it up with somebody, we feel like we've kind of gotten to know, at least on a somewhat brief basis. And
yes,
it's just fun to come on here and chop it up for an hour or so.
Yeah.
Thank
It's
you
fun.
again for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. It's always fun coming up on here.
All right, and that being said, I guess go ahead and give your old goodbye, Grant.
Goodbye, everybody.
And Doug, go ahead and give your goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Professor Chris G telling all of you we'll be back next week for another episode. And then just a forewarning, just so you guys are not caught off guard, after next week's episode, we are going to take a week off So if you're listening to this on day launch, just be prepared for that. So next week will be the last episode for like just 2 weeks. So, all right, everyone. But outside of that, we will be back pretty soon. We'll be back next week. So we'll see you. Have a good night.